Hey guys!
Hey guys!
Welcome back to another video. As you can see, we're on the road right now. We're actually on our way down to Florida. And so we're heading down to kind of the Ocala area to see our friend Matt. We'll be down there for like a week, and then we're heading to Aruba for our 2-year anniversary and kind of like a late honeymoon. So the next couple of videos are going to be vlogs of all of those travels, but we wanted to get a video in today for you guys all about how to control your spending when you're traveling. And so as we travel more and more, there's a lot of tips that we've learned for controlling your spending and just being a little bit more intentional about what you're spending money on. And one thing we've realized too is as we're traveling more and more and travel is more a part of our regular lives, it becomes even more important to be careful about your spending because it's not just like a 1 week long vacation where you can, kind of go a little all out because it's just for 1 week out of the year. So if you're trying to travel more regularly in your life, then you have to start treating your spending while traveling like you would if you were home, and be a little bit more careful and intentional about that. So that's what we're talking about today. We're kind of driving a little bit into the evening, so we're going to give you guys a couple tips, and then also take you guys with us through our drive down to Florida. So stay tuned. Decided to split this video into 3 parts. So the first part is just your travel to get to the destination, whether that's car, plane, train, or whatever. The second part is going to be just like your basic expenses when you're at that destination. So almost like the same expenses you'd have at home. So lodging, your food, whether that's groceries or eating out. And then just maybe like also transportation and getting around where the area that you're staying in. The third part is going to be more of like the splurging. So activities that you're doing in that destination, maybe going out for some like expensive dinners, maybe an more expensive like lodging kind of experience. And so we're going to break it down into those 3 parts, and we have tips for each part to share with you guys. The clocks went forward, so it feels more like 6:42.
Alright, so we made it down to North Carolina last night, and we're about to hit the road and head down to Florida. But before we do, I wanted to discuss the first part. So the first part is the travel of actually getting to your destination. So with flying, something that we have found very, very valuable is to be flexible with our dates. If you have that option, a lot of airliners, or even if you just go online and do search through Google, you can pick like flexible days or look at like a low fare calendar or something like that and pick based on when flights are the cheapest. So that was something that we did when planning our trip to Aruba to help kind of align our travel days with whatever days were cheapest for airfare and hotel stays. Something to keep in mind when you're driving is this can be much more beneficial and a lot cheaper if you have multiple people traveling with you, or if you're able to bring your pets with you, like in some cases we are, which really helps us cut down on boarding costs. So there's that aspect. And then again, if you have 3 or 4 people going with you, you may find that it's significantly cheaper to just pile everybody up in a car and hit the road. Also, something to consider, a little bit more unique, but look at some alternative traveling types. Look into bus and trains as well. So I had found there is a train that you can actually load your car into that takes you from DC to Florida, and I've thought about doing that at times. So you just want to compare the cost. Also, I know it's a little more popular on the East Coast. I don't know about other areas, but there's Bolt Bus and Megabus. A lot of times you can get really, really cheap tickets, for $10, $15, $20 to get places. Again, it's about aligning the days so that those cheaper tickets work with your travel days. But if you have options like that, it's definitely worth exploring. All right, so we got more tips to share with you, but we're gonna hit the road right now and start heading down to Florida.
Okay, part 2 to this is kind of your essentials once you get somewhere. So the first thing is with lodging. What we like to do is stay at like the same hotel line as much as possible. So for most of our travels, we like to stay at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites is what it's called. And we just have found that like we stay at so many of them and they're just like 99% of the time end up being really good. And so they're pretty reliable. So what we try to do is stay there as much as possible when we're traveling. And so we're building up those points. A lot of times you can use those points not even just for like a free hotel night, but a lot of times you can use it for like airfare and stuff too and other travel costs. So that's a big tip. And we like Holiday Inn Express too because a lot of times they will allow dogs. The other place we'll stay sometimes is like the Marriott Residence Inn. Especially if we're staying with like another couple that we're friends with and we can get like a 2-bedroom hotel, because a lot of times the cost of a 2-bedroom ends up being like cheaper for each couple than if you went to maybe a not as nice of a hotel and you got 2 rooms. And especially if you're going to be staying for a longer stay, the residence inns are nice because they'll have like a little kitchenette, and they also always allow dogs, I believe. So those are the 2 we like to frequent, and then we'll build up points there. Now, moving over to food, the biggest thing there, I think, is just to control how much you're like eating out. So like if you're staying in like a residence inn or an Airbnb that has some sort of kitchen, the more that you can, make food at home and save your eating out for those times when it's really going to be worth it, like a cool place that you're really going to enjoy, the more you can do that, the better. So when you get to a new place, if you know you're going to be able to do some, even if you can't do much cooking, but you can at least like make breakfast there, like maybe you have a microwave, go to the store and get some stuff so that you don't have to go out for every single meal and drink. Another thing to keep in mind is if you are in a situation where you're gonna have to eat out more, like you just don't have the ability where you're staying to like cook much, focus on like eating out at maybe some cheaper places for maybe like breakfast and lunch. Like if you know there's like a couple places, like really cool places that you would want to go for dinner, save some money on your breakfast and lunch meals just going to like cheaper places. That's one way that you can really like save on food and spend your money more on the food experiences that are going to be worth it. Okay, and then the last aspect of the basic expenses is just your cost for getting around your area. And so I would say just like be creative, like look at the area that you're in and figure out what's going to work best. If you can walk places, like walking is great because you're getting some exercise in too, and it kind of like allows you to get a little bit more feel for the area, and the culture and environment there and everything. But if you can't walk and you're gonna maybe have to get like an Uber a lot of times, it's worth checking to see the cost of getting a rental car for the time that you're there. You might find that if you're like getting an Uber once or twice a day, having a rental car would be cheaper throughout the week. Depending on the area you're staying in, even like renting bikes might be cool. If it's like a nice climate where you're at, you might want to get bikes, and that's another way to kind of get some exercise in during your travels as well. Okay, the third and final part is the whole reason that you're traveling. So it's all the fun stuff. So that might be activities that you want to go and do. It could be cool places that you want to go eat. Maybe they're on the pricey side, maybe not. And then also unique or more expensive lodging. our biggest piece of advice we could give you for this section overall is to focus on the things that you genuinely enjoy doing. I think it's easy when we travel to get swayed by looking at like a list of popular attractions in that area and feeling like almost obligated to do the things that it says you should be doing there. And I know that there's been times when we traveled and there might, whether we spent a lot of money on something or not, even if we just spent our time there on an activity and we just didn't really enjoy it. And looking back, it's like we just didn't like that type of activity, but we weren't really being self-aware of that. Make a list of the things that you really enjoy doing when you're traveling. And you might find that a lot of the activities and stuff that you enjoy are on the cheaper side. Maybe you like going out to the pricier restaurants. So if you can focus on saving money on activities, then you can splurge on the restaurants a little bit. I know a lot of times when we go places, I find that there's a ton of activities to do that either are free or very inexpensive. Whether that's hiking. When we were in Vermont, we went to a maple and cheese farm, and it was like completely free just to go there and explore the farm, and it was really fun. And so I would just encourage you to look for activities that you can do that might be on the less pricey side, especially if you're going with your whole family too. That way you guys can go out and do things, but you're not feeling so strapped for money at the end of it. And when it comes to unique lodging that might be more on the pricey side, consider staying somewhere like that for just a night or two, just to kind of get that experience, but you're not paying for it for the entire time that you're at that destination. So maybe you really have always wanted to stay on like a sailboat Airbnb. I've seen those a lot in more coastal areas. So maybe if you're in that area for a week, stay at a hotel for 5 nights and then go and stay at the sailboat for 1 night. So you get that experience without paying for it for the entire trip. And then when it comes to dining, also think about the fact that you might not need to go to a 5-star pricey restaurant to get a really local taste for the area. So I know sometimes we'll just go to like local kind of hole-in-the-wall places that have really good food and are more of a local favorite, and we really enjoy ourselves. Tailor it to you. Maybe you like the really high-end restaurants and you want that kind of experience when you're at a new destination. So maybe you splurge on that, but then you cut back a little bit with the activities. So again, what it really comes down to is figuring out what you like to do and tailoring your fun money spend around those things. Alright guys, that about wraps up this video. We hope you got some helpful tips about saving money and staying on budget while you're traveling. And if you did like this video, please hit the thumbs up button. That helps us out a lot. Also, if you're interested in getting videos from us every week on travel, minimalism, financial freedom, or travel vlogs, definitely hit the subscribe button and hit the bell as well so you get notified every week when we put out a new video. As you can see, we're still on the road. So Will's doing most of the driving today, so I'm kind of letting him focus on that. But we should be in Florida by the end of today, and the next few weeks we're actually going to be putting out some vlogs for you guys while we're traveling in Florida and Aruba as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.